That time where I remind you what our topic of conversation is this morning, which is related to what you will find in your dailies, and that is running on empty, the bruising cost of living. And with me in studio, we have Sylvia Mulama, who is a champion for women and youth. Good to see you. Good to have you in studio this morning, Sylvia, as always. Somebody I'm hosting for the first time this morning, but hopefully not for the last. No, I'm just kidding. Ruth Bolo, the democracy and governance analyst. She works in that space. We also have Wanjiku Thiga here, gender justice advocate. Karibu Sana Wanjiku. I can see you being mic'd. We also have Gashri Kariuki, advocate of the High Court. She's also just having her mic pinned onto her lapel. So, but soon enough, we'll be able to hear from them and get their thoughts on the dailies. Here we go. Front page of the Daily Nation. 300 shillings a litre for petrol on the cards. Here we go. Neighboring Tanzania has reduced fuel prices for November. Tough amid the expectation that fuel prices will drop next week when the government releases its monthly review, given the recent decline in global crude prices. Energy Minister, Cabinet Secretary Davis Churcher yesterday warned the prices could rise to historic highs due to the Israel-Hamas war. This would make life even more difficult for many Kenyans struggling under the current cost of living. Should we flip over to page 4, take a look at the quote that is there? Let's do that. Page 4 of the Daily Nation, ladies. And this report by Brian Ambani. And here we read that while appearing before the National Dialogue Committee, the CS said that while rising fuel prices are a global issue, the government's interventions have mitigated further rise in fuel prices. In pump prices, he is quoted here as saying, "We cannot do much on international pricing of petroleum." I read an article that international prices could go to $150 because of the Israel-Hamas war, which would literally mean our products going to a high of 300 shillings per litre at the pump. He says he hopes it does not go there. Chichu fears mirror an analysis by the World Bank that showed that crude oil prices could hit $157, translating to 23,738 shillings per barrel should the Israel-Hamas conflict escalate, leading to cuts in global crude oil supply. The World Bank's latest commodity markets outlook indicated that in case of a quote large disruption scenario comparable to the Arab oil embargo in 1973, the global oil supply would shrink by 6 million to 8 million barrels per day. Another quote here, if a severe oil price shock materializes, it would push up food price inflation that has already been elevated in many developing countries. And quoted there is Ayhan Kose, the World Bank's deputy chief economist and director of the Prospects Group. The Russia-Ukraine war, which broke out in February last year, saw fuel prices rise to new highs amid global supply hitches. And according to Churcher, the state has further negotiated the government-to-government deal between Kenya and Saudi Arabia and the, let me just zoom out here, and the United Arab Emirates to lower fuel premiums. A quote here, the G2G has eased pressure on the Kenya shilling by reducing the rate of depreciation from 3% per month to 1%, said the CS. Last month, EPRA raised prices to a record high, attributing this to a rise in global prices, as well as the rapid depreciation of the Kenya shilling against the US dollar. All right, let's take a look at how the other dailies have covered the same report. I'll just flip back first to the front page here because we're not quite done. Let's take a look at... let's take a look at the Standard. Now, you are on your own. Cabinet secretaries tell dialogue team that things are beyond their control, and instead of putting in place measures to bring down the cost of living, Kenyans should brace for tougher times. An image here of the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Njuguna Ndung'u. We also have Davis Churcher, the Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary, quotes, "The Hustler Fund government-to-government deal, affordable housing is an intervention. The whole issue is you start it off, and once it is working, you release it to the market, and the quote that I read earlier with regards to possibly the cost of fuel hitting 300 shillings per litre. I read an article that international prices could go to $150 per barrel because of the Israel-Hamas war, which would literally mean products going to a high of 300 shillings per litre. The 300 shilling projection, Energy CS, says the cost of fuel could rise to an all-time high if the conflict between Israel and Hamas does dissipate. Is it does or does not? But the central bank says the war has not affected prices yet. And let's just flip over to page 4 and 5 and see how they've covered it. Let me see, am I there? Here we go. Here they are appearing before the National Dialogue Committee. And yeah, so more details contained here. And let's take a look at the Star and how they have covered the story. Here we go. Kenya paying for Uhuru blunders Ruto's men. Treasury CS Jugudandongo warns against tampering with current tax measures. So through pages 4 to 5. And actually the editorial cartoon has everything to do with that. This is a pump with EPRA on it. I see these are these the Uhuru men that they were speaking about, and Israel-Gaza war on the sleeve. Here we go, an image of them appearing before what is referred to as NADCO, National Dialogue Committee. This report by Luke Witch, and in a rare scathing attack on the previous administration, the Treasury boss said Kenyans must brace for tougher times, even as the current government clears the mess. Ndungu warned the bipartisan committee against tampering with the current taxes, insisting they are necessary to keep the country afloat. A quote here, "We are paying for the past policy mistakes. That is the truth. We are paying for the mistakes of the past." Taxes by the new administration have triggered an increase in the cost of living, with fuel prices skyrocketing to an all-time high, the highest since independence. But according to the CS, the economic situation in the country would have been worse were it not for the Ruto administration's policy interventions. Fuel and maize flour subsidies are among what the CS termed as grave missteps that exacerbated the cost of living in the country. The government of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, he said, got it wrong in many fronts, causing the current mess in the country. His energy counterpart, Davis Sh300, warned of costly fuel prices in the country. And the big quote here, set of the page, just push it up. There we go. Fuel subsidies were not a suitable plan for the government and only benefited a few rich people in the society. This is because of the consumption basket on fuel for the people at the bottom of the pyramid is marginal compared to the rich members of the society. Let us see how it was covered by the People Daily. Petrol prices are set to hit 300 shillings per litre. CS Sh300 claims raging Israel-Palestine war could lead to an increase in cost of fuel by next week. But CBK differs, saying international cost of oil has declined due to waning impact of the Middle East conflict. And we have an image of Charles Hinga here, and Jugudandungo Davis Sh300 appearing before said committee. So, Ruth, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of these headlines across the board, right? We've looked at the Nation Media Group, we've looked at Standard, we've looked at the Star, we've looked at People Daily, all the national dailies have it on their front pages. What do you make of the headlines?
I think, first of all, thank you for having me. I think the first thing that comes to my mind as a Kenyan citizen when I look at these headlines is, oh my goodness, things are going to be tougher than they already are. So to an already, disenfranchised citizen, once they see these headlines, already there's the social frustration that you get because things are already tough and you're now telling us things are going to be tougher. You're not telling us how to cushion ourselves or how you as a government is planning to cushion us. So when I look at these headlines, I'm thinking to myself, and also looking at the different, if you look at the Star, it's talking about the fuel prices increasing as a result of the mess that was there by the previous government. But if you look at the other newspaper that we've seen, it's not talking about the mess that was there by the previous government. It's talking about the Israel-Hamas war. So I think there's also, to me, I'm also reading a government that is not exactly reading from the same script, and that tends to really, really worry me.
Maybe it's a combination of factors. Sylvia, they tell us, yes, the situation looks bleak, but it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. When we look at the whole situation, this is a global problem. The entire world is actually going through a recession right now. And as Kenya, as a country, we don't have a social system. We have never prepared for that, which the new government is trying to set into place. And therefore, we don't have the ability to cushion the citizens of Kenya. When you look at other countries, they've been able to cushion their citizens by giving them a stipend to survive on, so that it can cover some of the bills. Like when you look at the United Kingdom, for instance, the cost of power alone went up by 30%. And people are having to bear the cost of that. However, the government has come in to ease the pockets by giving them a subsidized fees so that they can be able to meet up their costs. When you now look at our own situation, we don't have the actual solutions to put at the table, as it were. We are preparing that now, but it will take about 2 to 3 years before it all sets into place. And I remember His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi saying that things are going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. We have to tighten our belts because we have to get through this. And the only way to get through this is to take the hardest decisions so that we can take a step by ensuring that our economy is completely stabilized in the future for the rest of the generations to come. Yeah.
On subsidies, basically what these gentlemen are saying, the Uhuru Kenyatta administration, okay, let me just attribute it to the Seya, Njuguna Ndogo, Treasury Cabinet Secretary. He says, he lays the blame on the former administration's doorstep, and he says they blundered when they had these fuel subsidies and the Unga subsidies. What did you make of those remarks? Gashwi?
Well, I wouldn't say they were blunders, because while Uhuru was the president, we also had the Russian invasion in Ukraine, or the Russian-Ukrainian war, and that already had a great impact on the issue of buying petroleum, on the issue of economy across the board, and everyone felt the heat, okay? And we still feel the heat, whether it's the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere. So in a certain way, I think Uhuru really tried to cushion the country and to cushion the citizens, but at the same time, I believe that perhaps they would have started soft launching this economic crisis or this economic crunch from the Uhuru regime, and I think it would have been easier then, or maybe would have been better prepared as citizens, and even William Ruto, as he took over the reins of power, we would have been better prepared to come into this the regime and this new economic crisis as we speak. Nonetheless, all I hear from these state officers at the moment is a distress call. On the one hand, I am thankful for their transparency. It's a good thing. We all understand, we all need to understand that things are not looking up, okay? But at the same time, I would like to see more solutions from them on both from a governmental point of view, the involvement with corporates, with NGOs, with citizens, and everyone on board, so that we are able to forge a way forward, because for sure, Olive, things are not looking good. Yeah.
All right, Karibu. Thank you. Your thoughts on these lines? They strike fear in your heart.
Yeah, you know, Kwanza, when you look at the standard, it says you're on your own. I mean, it's such a scary feeling, especially as young people of this country. Remember, the backdrop of the campaign of the Kenya Kwanza regime was heavily on young people, and they promised economic transformation. So when we heavily voted you in, and then you drop the bombshell on us and you say, yo, you're on your own, you feel like, no, as in, we were there for you, so you need to be there for us as well. Because as young people, we want to have a chance at life. There's this common Sheng word that a lot of young people are using, kuinama. So a lot of people say, neinama lunch. You know, and we laugh, it's missing out on maybe lunch or breakfast or dinner. And we know we laugh about it. You know, people say, ntainama lunch. And then we laugh about it. But it's so sad that you can't afford a meal. So I'm just encouraging the government that you have a lot to deliver for young people. If a young person can't afford a meal, that means they are not able to access economic opportunities. And that's even with the Hustler Fund. I mean, it's a great project, but if as a young person I can only access 500 shillings or 2,000 shillings, I really can't do much with it, especially now the cost of living is so high. Yeah, so they have to go back to the drawing board and really deliver for young people. Yes.
All right, let's quickly take a look at what else is there. We'll come back round because this is actually what we're here to discuss this morning. But let's just quickly take a look at what else is on the headline that was being referred to there by Wanjigo Thiga. All right, back to the Daily Nation. Let me zoom out here. There we go. Sharing the front page, we have this image of a Form 4 candidate at St. Clair Girls Secondary School in Elbagon, Nakuru County, and they are writing their chemistry paper 1 test yesterday during the first day of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education National Exams. Let me zoom out slightly. There we go. All right, we also have on the front page here, dawn crash claims 11 lives. 11 people died at dawn yesterday when a matatu and a lorry collided head-on on the busy Nakuru-Eldoret highway. 8 people died on the spot, while 3 others succumbed to their injuries as they were being rushed to hospital. Witness accounts and a road traffic report indicate the driver of the lorry lost control and veered off his lane before colliding with the matatu. What do you think is happening with these trucks? It's not the first time we are seeing reports such as this. We also have underneath that, security firm staff make away with retailers 94 million shillings. Retailers 94 million, yes, 94 million shillings.
Since they started.
Yes. 2 employees of security firm Wells Fargo are on the run after allegedly stealing 94 million shillings in cash belonging to retail giant Quick Mart. Police set for man over ex-wife's murder. Pupils' rendition of Top Rumba song goes viral. And under that, it reads, what started as a performance to entertain guests at a farewell party has turned a group of pupils from Bigosi Primary School into celebrities overnight. Let's see what is on page 3. The story has been filed by Rashti Odia. So you can find that report there. Okay, so that's it for the front page of the Daily Nation. Let's take a look at what the Business Daily has in store for us. Here we go. Kere's hand in Uganda, Kenya transit fuel middlemen fight. This has been penned by John Mutua, and he tells us in the first few paragraphs there that attacks on transit fuel cargo to Uganda by the Kenya Revenue Authority and management fees by local oil marketers selling petroleum products to Uganda are behind the latest round of protests by President Yoweri Museveni, who has accused Kenyan middlemen of inflating fuel prices shipped to Kampala. Multiple players in the industry who spoke to Business Daily said oil marketers charge a management fee for their handling service, which is also taxed by KRA at a rate of 1,512 shillings at current exchange rates per 1,000 liters of transit fuel, which is about $10. And yeah, the charges are passed on to Uganda alongside transport costs. Further down here, we have India's Meta takes on Rai with agrochemical Muhoroni bid. This one is by Dominic Omondi. India's manufacturing giant Meta Group plans to bid for a joint takeover of agrochemical and food company and Muhoroni Sugar in what will give it a stronger footing in fight for the control of the lucrative sugar industry, now under the tight grip of the billionaire Rai family. Days after the state announced plans to invite private sector bids for 5 struggling entities, the Business Daily has learned that Meta Group, being a major shareholder of agrochemical, has a preemptive right to buy the 56% government stake in the alcohol manufacturer. However, the conglomerate, whose interests span sugar milling, cement and insurance, wants the buyout to also include the neighboring Muhoroni Sugar to give the alcohol manufacturer a competitive edge should the other milling firms start their own distillers. Okay, let us take a look at the ticker. Kenya takes a 40 billion shilling currency hit on SGR debt. Kenya has been forced to raise the budget for servicing bilateral loans to China by 36% on the back of rising interest rates and sliding value of the shilling, shining a spotlight on the terms of the the credit Nairobi signed with Beijing. Kwale titanium miners exit risks 170 jobs. The exit of Kwale-based miner-based titanium next year will result in the loss of about 170 jobs, while the state will forgo billions of shillings in taxes and royalties per annum. CBK goes after Hawala in fight against money transfer rogues. CBK has warned the public against rogue money transfer agents offering alternative remittance channels without a license from the Apex Bank. Have you guys been shopping of late and they tell you, you know, you have to pay by cash? Yeah. You can use M-Pesa?
In some places, they don't even allow to give you a receipt.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. What is that about? So trying to evade the tax?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they tell you to withdraw.
Yeah. Yeah, actually they send you
Instead of you paying them, they tell you to withdraw the
the
funds
cash
through an agent who has nothing to do with them. Yeah. It's evading taxes, obviously.
Okay.
It's actually avoidance, not evasion.
Oh, it's avoidance. Evasion. Sorry, tell us.
Evasion is criminal. Avoidance is just finding legitimate ways of avoiding remitting
no,
tax.
But still, that's not legitimate. If I come to buy something from you,
and
you tell me to get money from the next agent.
You should account
for the receipt. A receipt is a different concept, but choosing not to have a banking system or a payment system, a soft payment system, there's no problem with that. There's no law that says you cannot, you must take out an M-Pesa till number. Or
okay, but if the objective is to maybe underreport your earnings,
yes. How do you report?
But you're avoiding, not evading. There's a difference. You see, when you...
all right.
Struggle is improving that the intention.
The technicalities you're avoiding.
Grammar.
Okay. I will leave that to the experts. But we come back, we'll wrap it up. Just take a look at what else is contained in the dailies this morning. Then kick off our discussion. This is what we are looking at this morning, running on MT. Let me pull it up. Here we go. The bruising cost of living on the other side of this break.